What if I told you that if you increase your emotional intelligence by 5 points, you could increase your pay by $6,500 a year? You'd be pretty interested, right? Well, a study by TalentSmart took 42,000 people and compared their pay to their emotional intelligence. And they found that people with high emotional intelligence made about $29,000 more a year than those with low emotional intelligence. Further, they found that 1 point in EQ, that's emotional intelligence quotient, accounted for $1,300 of increased pay for just 1 point. So we should definitely care about emotional intelligence and how we can increase our score. Today, I'll define emotional intelligence and explain what it is, and then I'll talk about what you can do to raise your emotional intelligence and hopefully also your pay and your success with other people. By the way, guys, I post 5 videos a week on the topics of productivity, time management, success, and social effectiveness, like this video. If you're interested in that sort of thing, consider subscribing to get more content like this. So proponents of the emotional intelligence movement have basically said that IQ is not a good metric of success, and that a much more effective metric is EQ, emotional intelligence. So I want to go over the core tenets of emotional intelligence and define those for you and give you a quick idea of how you can improve in those areas. There's a lot to talk about here, and it's likely that I'll have to make more videos in the future to really go in depth on each of these tenets. But what I want to go over today is a basic overview of what can be done to improve your emotional intelligence today. The first tenet is self-awareness, and that is recognizing your emotions when they occur. This is an internal function. So when you get emotional for one reason or another, you're able to stop, recognize what that emotion is, recognize what caused that emotion, and then respond. The second tenet is self-management, which ties into the first one, which is what do you do when you become emotional, or when there is that stimulus? What is your action? One way of putting this is you manage your destructive emotions in a positive way. So you're taking that gap between stimulus and action, and you're taking time to actually decide consciously how you want to react, instead of just doing whatever feels natural in the moment. People that are good at self-management are typically better at recovering from traumatic or difficult moments in their lives. The third tenet is empathy, which is, on a basic level, understanding other people's emotions and responding to those in a positive way. So a lot of people underestimate the power of empathy. I've talked about this in other videos, but it can really, really be powerful in understanding why other people feel the way they do and helping to speak their language and bring them around to your way of thinking. And the fourth tenet is social skills and handling relationships. People that are really good at that tend to be really good at leadership, interpersonal effectiveness, and relationship building. So think, top salespeople, people like that can just really go in, interact with people in a positive way, build relationships quickly, and influence people. So enough of that. How do we increase our EQ? Because that's what we really want to do, right? We want to get better at this so that we can be more successful. So again, there are 4 areas I want to talk about. And the first is when you're angry. So the first thing I want to talk about with anger is you need to recognize the fallacy of venting. So venting doesn't actually help you to feel better about anything. In fact, scientific studies have shown that it actually makes it worse. When you vent to someone else, you only reinforce your anger. So venting leaves you feeling more angry, more frustrated, and it prolongs the time it takes you to recover from anger. Something you can do is deep breathing. So breathing in deeply and letting the air out helps to lower your heart rate, lower your blood pressure, and just reduce anxiety. And it'll kind of allow you to level yourself before you decide how you're going to react to that stimulus. You can also go for a walk, or you can run if that's your thing. This helps to just free your mind of the frustration. So make sure that while you're doing that, you're not just fuming about whatever issue has got you angry. And the last thing, and this is one that I use a lot, is reframe the situation. So step back and try to think about what could possibly have caused this to occur that didn't involve someone deliberately wronging me. There are hundreds of examples of this. I mean, the guy cuts you off in traffic. Well, his wife is in labor in the passenger seat, right? Stuff like that. So instead of being angry at him, you realize, oh, well, he's got something serious going on. I'm going to let that one slide. And really, you're not relieving him of anything because you can't punish him. You're relieving yourself of the anxiety and the frustration that's actually punishing you. So try to reframe those things That's something that I found is really effective. The second thing I want to talk about is when you're sad. So the first thing is don't ruminate when you're sad. That doesn't help. Again, that just reinforces and prolongs your sadness. You're going to notice that there are some common themes between sadness and anger. Instead of rumination, try distracting yourself. Watch a funny movie or listen to a podcast. Do something that you like to do that'll take your mind off of what you're upset about. Again, aerobic exercise. So in this case, it helps in another way because sadness is a low energy state and aerobic exercise is a high energy state, so it actually physiologically pulls you out of that sadness or depression when you run or ride a bike or whatever your preferred method. Also, get an easy win. Find something that you've been putting off for a while that won't take very long so that you can go get yourself a quick win that'll make you feel a little bit better. And finally, again, reframe your thoughts. So if you're sad about a breakup or something like that, try to reframe your thoughts in a way that makes this look like an opportunity instead of a setback. There's always another side of the coin that you can look at. And by doing that, you can change your mindset completely. So the third area, and I think a key area in emotional intelligence, is the artful critique, which just means when you need to correct someone, you do it in a way that's constructive and is more likely to be received well. So obviously you don't want to attack someone. If you want someone to change, the worst thing you can do is attack some personal aspect of them, because all that's going to do is put them in the defensive and they're going to throw up a wall and you're not going to be able to get through to them at all. So don't attack. Don't come at them personally. Make sure that they know that you're critiquing something separate from them personally. So instead of saying, you messed this up, why'd you do it this way? Or that's a terrible idea because it's just never going to work, that's idiotic. Another way to word it that doesn't feel like an attack to the other person is something like, well, the challenge I see with this idea, perhaps another approach to consider is, wording like that causes people to let their guard down. They don't feel like you're attacking them personally. They feel like you're just trying to help them find a successful solution. Furthermore, if you come in with only problems and no solutions, people tend to shut down. You always want to come with a solution. If you're going to present a challenge, you have to come with an alternative. If you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. So the fourth point is emotional contagion. And I love that word contagion because it just has this feel of like an epidemic. It makes you realize that if you have a positive attitude, you can spread that across an organization. It can be really powerful. We've all experienced this. We've all been around someone who's really gloomy and down, and over time it just brings you down. You inherit their mood. The same thing with a really positive, bubbly person. They make other people around them more bubbly and happier. And that's the kind of impact you want to have on other people. You want them to associate you with feeling good. And that pretty much wraps up a high-level overview of how you can improve your emotional intelligence. There's a lot more to talk about here. Two of the key points that I'd like you to take from this is, one, the power of the pause, as I call it, which is identifying that time between a stimulus and a response where you can stop and you can consciously decide how you're going to react to a situation, rather than just reacting emotionally. The pause can be incredibly powerful. And the second one, I just talked about it, emotional contagion. I think that's super powerful in group social environments because you can dramatically change how people feel just based on how you interact with them. So those are the two big ones that I think you should take away from this video. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up today, guys. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new here and you like what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button so you can get more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video.